The old God Rher looms over the city of Preevil in Fear and Hunger 2, spreading madness and corrupting the mind and body of those who stand underneath this old god's gaze, creating monstrosities that defy logic and sanity. But who is Rher, and what are his goals? The old God Rher is shrouded in mystery and goes by many names. The Trickster God, the Moon God, the Ever-Watching God. It is said that Rher jealously gazes upon humanity, not wanting mortals to share his godhood and compete with his power, taking personal offense to the idea of a mortal ascending to godhood. For this reason, Rher unleashes many ploys and elaborate schemes to destabilize the power and influence of mortals. It has been said that the influence of Rher has influenced the course of history for mortals, by humans unwittingly playing into his schemes and plans to ultimately make their life harder. In 1942, the setting of Fear and Hunger 2, after the end of the Great War between the Bremen Empire and the Eastern Union, the old God Rher schemed a plan beyond human comprehension. He planned to orchestrate the Festival of Termina in a small town named Preevil. Contestants are informed during a dream by his servant Perkele acting as his voice. In this dream, he tells mortals of the festival and how it's their opportunity to have an illustrious reality. In Fear and Hunger 2, the 14 contestants must fight amongst themselves until one remains. However, it is unclear if this is the first of these festivals or if this has been done many times before. What is known is that the effects of Rher's gaze over the town of Preevil is troubling, to say the least. Those exposed to the light of Rher are afflicted over time by moonscorching, also known as moonlight cancer. This is a painful and horrendous fate for any mortal, which corrupts the mind and transforms the body into a parody of the human form progressively. It is said to be a punishment from Rher for those contestants of the festival who do not fight and attack their fellow contestants. But what is this Moonscorch affliction? Moonscorch causes symptoms such as severe burns, drying of the skin, tissue deformation, and irritation. As the condition progresses, major changes occur to the face and body, warping and distorting their physical form into a monstrous body. How exactly this warps the body is unique to the individual. Psychologically, those afflicted with Moonscorch are driven into a mental illness, characterized by extreme psychosis and homicidal tendencies, severely disrupting their reasoning skills. However, arguably more disturbingly is how those who are Moonscorched are still alive as the condition progresses. Those afflicted with Moonscorch still retain traces of their past personality and life. Encountering various victims of moonscorching, you get to see glimpses and traces of their past life that come through in their behavior even after transforming into monstrous forms. The Bobbies, for example, were once policemen who patrolled the streets of Preevil. In the game, they chastise players for breaking the curfew, and they attack believing they're still doing their job of being a policeman. Players can talk to the Bobbies, and they can even hesitate when you mention that you're inside and that you can't be breaking a curfew. This is what makes Rher's gaze so disturbing. Rather than being turned into a mindless beast, Moonscorching transforms you into the worst possible version of yourself, where you retain a faint glimmer of your past self, but you are irreparably warped and corrupted. The process of moonscorching takes hours to several days, with early symptoms of psychological disturbance showing before ultimately transforming you into a monstrosity. As contestants in the Festival of Termina progress with their moonscorch transformation, you begin to see signs of psychological deterioration before they fully turn. The question to ask is, why? Why would Rher inflict the small town of Preevil in this way? As Rher is mysterious and not much is known about his ideology due to his true motives never being fully admitted, we can only speculate as to what the Festival of Termina is really for. Like the nicknames of Rher would suggest, trickery and subterfuge are at the core of Rher. Some followers of Rher believe he represents the truth, by his moon rays illuminating those who are touched. It can be said that the Moonscorch illuminates one's true self and brings the innermost thoughts of mortals to light. This can be seen in how the contestants who are Moonscorched are overcome and influenced by their fears and innermost psychological turmoil. To gaze upon Rhere's moonlight is to expose yourself to the darkness of the psychology that has always existed in your mind. Examples of this being the depression of the former soldier Levi transforming himself into the weeping Scope, who gets warped into a crying man with his body literally fused to a gun, turning his body into a literal tool to fight in wars. Then you have Olivia, who felt very self-conscious about her condition, which forces her into a wheelchair, who resented how others saw her differently because of this condition. Olivia is transformed into the mechanical dance, a humanoid machine where seemingly no organic matter remains. When a player speaks with the Moonscorched Olivia, the player can ask, "What on earth happened to you?" And the newly transformed and distressed Olivia will harrowingly say, "Happened? I've been this way forever." To be Moonscorched is to have the most self-destructive thoughts of yourself take over, and innermost fears realized. This hostility and disdain towards mortal life characterizes the Moon God, who looks at humanity with a spiteful vengeance and jealousy. What is known of Rher is that he has a disdain for the new way of thinking that mortals can become new gods, and he jealously guards the old world order. As such, Rher employs various servants and minions to do his bidding in the world. One most well-known example of an agent of Rher is Pocket Cat, a mysterious figure which is ever present in both Fear and Hunger 1 and 2. In children's stories, Pocket Cat is seen as a scary monster, despite a very polite and flowery language that he uses when talking to the player. As such, the player never really gets a sense that you're observing the real Pocket Cat, but that he is tricking you and putting on a different face just to talk to you. You only get glimpses and speculation as to how monstrous Pocket Cat is when he isn't talking to you. In both games, Pocket Cat trades with a player and dangles very useful items in front of the player if they accomplish the goal set out for him by Rher. These are things such as collecting contestant heads in the Festival of Termina, or bringing a child to him in Fear and Hunger 1. Why would Rher want a child? Well, the reason for wanting children is to stop new potential gods from ascending, as was said in the prophecies that a new god will ascend from a child. Rher has various other agents in the games of Fear and Hunger, Perkele being one of these servants of Rher who beckons you to the Festival of Termina at the start of Fear and Hunger 2. He claims to serve Rher, but then later claimed near the end that he didn't in favor of the Sulphur God, and was merely using the Moonscorching of Rher to achieve his ends. It's hard to say how true this is, or if Perkele can be trusted on face value, is highly debatable. As to what allegiance Perkele has to Rher is hard to determine. However, what is known is that these agents of Rher act in very mysterious ways that are hard to comprehend. The battle with Rher in Fear and Hunger 2 has Rher descend upon the player, where the battle artwork strongly resembles the Ophanim, also known as biblically accurate angels, who have rings lined with eyes. During this fight, the player is constantly losing sanity and is going mad as the fight progresses. It is likely that the player is hallucinating, and that this fight with Rher is only a fragment of his power. Perhaps Rher wanted to limit himself just to give you a fair fight, as if Rher used his full power, then the player would have no chance. After the player steals himself and his sanity and manages to fight off this aspect of Rher, the Moon of Rher flies away from the city of Prohevel, and with this, the Festival of Termina is concluded, with only the player remaining. Congratulations. This all points to that this is likely just a temporary setback for Rher, and that he is merely bored of fighting with you with this form, and wants to move on from the Festival of Termina. As if Rher wanted to kill you, he absolutely could, but he chose not to. For this reason, it is likely that Rher will also appear in future editions of Fear and Hunger, where the rest of the puzzle pieces may be put together, and we'll get to know the true motives behind Rher and what he wants. Hopefully in Fear and Hunger 3, we will get to know more about Rher and what exactly he wants. But what is certain is that if you look up in the sky and you see the face of Rher gazing upon you, you are in trouble.